warm days of mid-February gave way to more seasonal temperatures and lots of rain. March started with the peaches and the plum trees in bloom. Time will tell if we'll have fruit, given all that wet and cool weather. In hindsight, we may have planted our garden a bit early, but this growing climate is new for me. I need to experiment to see what works or what doesn't work. I told myself that in the month of March I'd repair the lean-to wall. I wanted to leave it ready for the roof structure. It needed a lot of work. The corner where the post had come off needed to be rebuilt back up with new stone. Fortunately, we found all that rock. And this is not something I've done for a living, so it can be a little intimidating finding the right rocks, sometimes trimming them a little bit. But at the end of the day, you step back from that wall and it always looks great. I decided to move the post at the end of the lean-to wall back a little bit in order to widen the opening between the Ada and the Quinteiro. And although I already knew that the stones of these walls, both of the lean-to and the houses, are originally set in a type of clay mortar. I only now realized how these walls are an actual living ecosystem. They provide shelter to a lot of wildlife. We found this rare beauty living in it, and it made me change my mind about pointing the wall once ready with cement. Because for me, support infrastructure is perhaps the most important element of this project. The month of March saw most of the time dedicated to support infrastructure, mainly this lean-to. It almost seems like I'm obsessed with having the lean-to, but it's going to be a covered area. And it was actually the only outbuilding that my grandparents had. And it wasn't even quite a building because it really only had one wall, hence the term lean-to. And, under there, my grandfather would ferment the wine. The wine press lived right there. He also had his woodworking bench, and it even provided, I think, shelter for the oxen cart. So it's a very important piece of support infrastructure, and I can't wait to see a roof on it. Not to say that the house is not important. Of course, it's very important. And the month of March also saw some work, not much, but some work done to preparing the house for more work. I, for now, have to clean all this ivy and brambles that have made it its growing their growing medium and climbing structure. I am basically doing work that is slow and tedious, but I'm hoping that by the time my professional builders helpers come, that I'll have sort of like this kind of stuff that they don't necessarily like to do out of the way. It's pretty obvious that I've been looking at these walls more than I have been working on them for the last couple of months. But all of that is actually quite productive because it's given me the opportunity to rethink a lot, or at least a few uh, design ideas that would probably have been implemented if the construction work had taken off right away, and only the time and the different angles, the way the sun shines on it, and all of that organic kind of method has allowed me to rethink some of these things and to make what I think at this moment are better decisions. Dealing with that mobile fishmonger over the last couple of months has been pretty fun and very cool. Trouble was, I had to wait until the end of the day to go home and cook and eat. So I went out, got a grill, and we're now cooking right there for lunch. Sometimes bringing leftovers to warm up, and whatever that fishmonger has that can go on the grill on Wednesdays and Fridays, we are cooking and enjoying right there. Bringing the land back into production is probably one of the most exciting components of this project. And in March, I have to say, I am pretty lucky that I have a public water spring that drains into a pond on my property. And I have been pretty eager to get to work on that, removing all the overgrowth. It was covered. The irrigation channels were couldn't even see them. This system is pretty ancient. I remember as a kid how the neighbors, there was three of them that would share the water. The pond would fill up. A day later, they would open the door and the water would flow down the channel and they would lead it to their own property to irrigate whatever crop they needed to irrigate. I managed to clean the channel pretty nicely, and I realized that watercress would have been a great addition to these irrigation channels because water is constantly flowing, and I was able to find some at the farmer's market and rooted them on a glass of water, and I'm glad to say that they are looking pretty perky these days. They are flowering right now, but they're looking good, and I think we have been able to establish a perennial crop in the property that will for your supply us. This work was a very clear example of improving support infrastructure and bringing the land back to work. And March saw quite a bit of bringing the land back to work. Of course, all the trees were flowering, and that is so exciting. But at the same time, our main concern was to make this one field that hadn't been utilized in a long time back to work, clearing overgrowth, cutting down all the older, taller, thicker grasses in preparation for plowing the fields. We want to sow a field of corn in the next few weeks so we can have chickens later on in the season. And when it's not working on building and rebuilding and repairing and planting, I try to take advantage of the cultural opportunities that present themselves. Enjoying a lot of the offerings of these gatherings, a lot of these traditional foods and other cultural initiatives. I go to the market at least once a week. I love the idea that there is here a parallel economy that is very vibrant. That one of these merchants that set up their tents and take it down at the end of the day. They go from town to town. They are kind of like the nomad merchants of ages ago, but that are here and are working, rain or shine. They bring us everything from clothing, tools, foods. Pretty much, you almost don't have to go to a bricks and mortar uh, establishment, and I'm very confident that this option is available to me.